Welcome to Wisconsin Weather Experts. We have a great Wednesday episode ahead for you, and I'm here with meteorologist Holly Baker. We're having a blast, and hopefully you're here to chime along with us for the next 30 minutes.
Yes. We got a lot to talk about, Lisa.
We have a lot to talk about, and we're going to start off with a story we told you yesterday, but a slight change in what actually happened.
Hold. Launch board is running.
That is SpaceX. Now, it was supposed to launch yesterday, but with only 29 seconds left until liftoff, you hear them saying, hold. It was a hold call due to a weather violation yesterday evening, which prevented SpaceX from launching. Now, the Falcon 9 rocket is set to bring a satellite into space to help with communication in Indonesia. The next scheduled launch window is tonight at 8 p.m. So we're going to hope to see that they're able to get through the weather conditions, but we have been talking about Florida dealing with this stalled out front, dealing with rain and other weather conditions in other areas in the southeast. So we'll have to see if that can even launch this evening.
Yeah, well, we just have to see. I mean, it's a lot that we're keeping our eye on, even in other areas, not even just Wisconsin. I mean, a weather alert from California, in fact. They have the skies over at the Sierra National Forest turned orange. Look at that.
Wow.
As the nearby Garnet Fire grows to more than 50,000 acres. This video by the U.S. Forest Service shows what the agency described as a low-intensity fire. I mean, it doesn't look low intensity to me.
No, it looks high intensity, doesn't it?
Right, but they described it as a low-intensity fire among sequoias at Shaver Lake. Firefighters and a sprinkler system continued to work on the blaze yesterday. So far, the fire is still only 14% contained.
Wow.
Definitely not low.
It looks like a scene from Mars, doesn't it?
Yes,
Out of this world. Scary.
Apocalypse.
And definitely not good to breathe in. Well, you know, we're going from fires to switching it up a little bit. Hurricanes, because today is the peak day for hurricane season. And since the 1970s, the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale has ranked hurricanes from Category 1 through Category 5. Now, that's based on wind speed, but that scale does have a few flaws. And now scientists in Florida are working on a new and improved rating system.
This was Florence barreling toward the Carolinas in 2018 as a major hurricane.
People did start evacuating for Hurricane Florence, but then as it came closer to land, it reduced. It went from a Cat 2 to make landfall as a Cat 1.
But this was the aftermath from seemingly unprecedented storm surge and rainfall. A similar story played out 20 years ago.
Katrina was a 3 officially.
With nearly 1,400 deaths, it's still one of the most devastating storms we've seen in the U.S.
Right now, we rate hurricanes on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and that's basically a category scale 1 through 5.
Fox 13 meteorologist Nash Rhodes says it only takes into account predicted wind strength.
Which is kind of backwards when you think about it, because if you were to rank the deadliest occurrences coming from these hurricanes, it would go storm surge, inland flooding, and then damaging winds in third place.
It's a major flaw. USF professor of geosciences Jennifer Collins spent multiple years researching to fix, working with an undergrad student and another team from a university in the Netherlands to create their own hurricane rating system, the Tropical Cyclone Severity Scale.
By incorporating surge and rainfall that our scale does, then it provides a more complete picture of what's going on.
Those 3 factors are each rated. The factor with the highest rating is what category the storm will be. And this scale goes up to Category 6 for storms with multiple extreme hazards.
So if we have 2 Cat 5s, we can have a Cat 6.
Collins says the next step is sending this proposal to the National Hurricane Center.
If ultimately my work could help save lives, then that's why it's important to me.
Jennifer Vaglis, Fox 35 News.
I think it's so smart, right, when you think about it, because when we talk about the case here locally for severe weather, we don't just say, oh, we could have an EF1 tornado or an EF5, we kind of culminate the severe weather threat for the day based on multiple hazards.
Yeah.
So I like the direction they're going in with this because really, you know, Holly, you have family, you have friends in the South, and some of our viewers may as well. It's not just the winds that are the big problem, but they mentioned, right, it's the flooding. It's all these other impacts that come with it that we don't really put into the consideration with the category ranking for hurricanes.
Yes, and then with hurricanes, when you look at the system in the water, it looks very tight and organized. But the moment it gets on land, it spans, so it's 10 times bigger. So the impact from what you're looking at over water to land is going to be 10 times more all the time. No matter if the category is low, that's just kind of how I feel about, you know, hurricanes. So I'm glad that they are starting to try something new with this. I do think it will be useful in the future because, I mean, with the constant, you know, temperatures changing and the water's warming, the tropics are only going to get, you know, more active.
Right. And the more advanced notice we can give for multiple hazards for people, the safer they could be. So we'll have to see if that will change in the upcoming months, years, or so forth, if they can get a hold of the National Hurricane Center.
Right. I mean, and keeping it on this topic, I mean, today is technically the peak of hurricane season in the Atlantic. So are there hurricanes out there? We're going to check in with Chief Meteorologist Tom Wachs because he has more on that topic.
Well, it is hurricane season in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. We are going to take a look at the Atlantic hurricane season here. And what you're looking at with this graph is it's showing the peak of hurricane season being today. September 10th is the climatological peak, or the busiest time, of hurricane season in the Atlantic basin. And then you see it gradually taper off here as we head into the November timeframe. So you see how it kind of starts in about June and then it really peaks by September 10th. And then you kind of start that downward trend as we head through October and into November. But we have not made it very far here. We can cross Andrea off the list, Barry, even Chantal, we made it through, Dexter, Aaron, and Fernand. So now all of those have been named storms. So next on the list would be Gabrielle. But boy, we are not far at all down the list. We have had a very quiet Atlantic hurricane season. Now, why is this? Well, there's several ingredients that you have to have. You've got to have a water temperature above 80 degrees because that fuels the storms. You have to have converging winds. When air converges, it doesn't go down, it has to go up, right? And that creates showers and thunderstorms. You've got to have, of course, abundant moisture, which you do when you have warmer ocean temperatures. And then the upper level winds, that's what we call wind shear. You want to have a low amount of wind shear, otherwise the storm will get sheared apart. So that's the ingredient side of the hurricane. Now let's take a look at the infrared satellite across the Atlantic basin. Now what is this showing? This is showing the clouds, but we have them colorized, where the cold cloud tops are in the red. That would be the taller cloud tops or the thunderstorms. So this gives us the ability to see where the thunderstorms essentially are located. Now this is not radar, but this is satellite indicating how cold the clouds are. So the satellite is estimating the cloud top temperatures. And what you're going to notice here is most of the Atlantic basin is quiet, uncharacteristically quiet for September the 10th, which again is the peak of hurricane season. We've made it down to the letter F, but at this point, we don't have any storms of concern across the Atlantic basin. Why is that? Well, there's really no clear answer at this point, but I will tell you one of the things that you did not see on that ingredient list is Saharan dust. And sometimes we will get dust that kicks off from the Saharan desert out over the Atlantic. And we are seeing some of that, and that could be playing somewhat of a role because when you get Saharan dust in the atmosphere, that can inhibit thunderstorms, that can prevent thunderstorms and hurricanes and tropical systems from forming. So that actually could be one of the reasons why we are seeing much lower than average type hurricane season, a very quiet hurricane season right now at the peak. But again, nothing overly concerning at this point, which is very good news, right? That's how we like it, because as you know, it only takes one storm to get very strong, hit mainland United States, and, you know, much like a Katrina or a Hurricane Hugo, I mean, so many hurricanes, you talk about them for decades and decades. So if we can keep the Atlantic Basin quiet, that's certainly very much good news, and at least in the coming days, it appears that we're still going to stay quiet. Now, this is the peak, which means we still have a couple of months left to go here in terms of hurricane season. And so at any point, it can really start to heat up, so to speak. So we're always tracking that as well. But at this point, good news, a quiet Atlantic Basin.
Yeah, Tom brings up a lot of good points there. We've been very active in the Pacific, but you know, Holly, we've been chatting a little bit, and you just mentioned that we've been doing pretty good for the Atlantic so far.
Yeah, we have. I mean, there's been a lot of fish storms. You know, they go and then they curve out because
I've never
of that.
heard that. I like that. Fish storms.
Fish storms.
Yeah,
they just kind of pretty much recurve out. That none of them have actually made landfall, which is good. I mean, they've had a lot of low pressures and fronts in just the south in general with rain, but none of it has been actually tropical, you know, like from the tropics. So, I mean, I don't want to jinx it. I mean, I have family there. I do not want to jinx it, but we have been doing really well, and I hope that we stay on that track with the tropics this year.
Yeah, and you know, if we start tracking a system, we'll definitely keep all of our viewers informed and safe, because we know people have family and friends just like you in other areas of the country.
Oh, yeah, and then people are still trying to travel too, but let's just say you're traveling here in Wisconsin. I have the forecast for that. So we look at our temperatures right now, and it's not too bad for us. We are constantly heating up. We're in the 70s right now for Milwaukee, 60s for the northern portion of the state, and then 50s out in Marquette. We will warm up some more today. Here is a look at those forecasted highs. We'll at least get to the mid 70s for Milwaukee, which is the normal. That is right where we would need to be. So we'll be right on cue, or right on average. Some of our other communities in the north will also see some of the 70s, but those far north areas like Rhinelander and even Wausau will hang out in the 60s. Even Marquette will stay in the 60s throughout today. Now we look at those forecasted highs across the entire nation. I mean, we're nowhere near as warm as a lot of those areas, especially those southern communities. We're definitely warmer than some areas in the Northeast, at least. So Northeast and New York, they're at around 70 degrees for a high today, 80s in Miami, and then 107, that's going to be the case in Phoenix. They're going to always have the triple digits for them because they're just constantly getting warm. And even Texas, a lot of areas in Texas are also going to be very, very hot today, especially El Paso at 98 degrees. And they're going to have a heat index that's going to be in the triple digits. That's going to be the same for Dallas and even Houston. 88 in New Orleans for a high. Even if you go further north, even in Bismarck, they're going to be pretty warm as well. Bismarck at 84 degrees and then 90 in Rapid City. So warmer temperatures all across the entire country. And we're going to get those warmer temperatures to really move into the area here in Wisconsin. This is a look at that high temperature trend. So by the time we make it to this weekend, Friday and Saturday, perhaps, we're going to be in the 80s. So it's going to feel just like summer all over again. We do have more rain that we will be tracking, though, as we head into Saturday's forecast. But we look at the current satellite and radar right now. We have what you call a stationary front. So it's pretty much not moving. A front that's stationary stays in that spot. It does not move nowhere. It just stays there. And being that it's staying there, it's providing us with some of these pop-up showers as well as a lot of the clouds that is in our area. And all this is associated with a low pressure system in the area, which is just off to the at least northeast of our entire state. So that is why we're kind of looking really gloomy today. But as we move forward, those conditions are going to improve. We look on our Sky Vision Plus throughout this afternoon. We will still have those clouds around, maybe a few more of those spotty showers that could be possible for southern portions, really southeast Wisconsin, and then even to some of our northern communities could get just a little bit of those, just a few showers. But all of that really slowly starts to diminish out of the forecast as we make our way into Thursday's forecast. Thursday, we're looking much drier. However, we are looking to have more cloud cover, at least for the start of the day in the northern portion portion of the state, but then you see it all diminishes, right? We get all the sunshine back into the forecast by the time we make it to Thursday afternoon, and even Thursday evening, skies are going to be nice and clear. But we head into Friday, same situation. We're going to have those clouds kind of moving in and out of the area, but the best news is we're going to stay pretty dry up until Saturday. Saturday is when we'll start to track more of that rain to come into our area. But until then, it's going to be plenty of time for you to really enjoy how nice it is across the entire state. We do have those minor chances for rain, so just have the umbrella and rain gear handy just in case. But all of the storms throughout, at least today, or the showers throughout today and even possible on parts of Friday, are all going to be very minor storms. They're going to be very short-lived, so just have the rain gear just in case, and you won't have to worry about anything else. But we take a look outside right now, and it looks beautiful out there. It is overall a little gloomy, but still, it looks pretty nice overall. But we have more coming up after the break, so just stay with us. Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. We talked a lot about the tropics and things that are going on in other parts of our country here. We talked about California and even parts of Florida. But now, Lisa, we got to talk about Alaska, right?
I know. You know, we're taking you back bit by bit on my trip because there's just so much history and science behind it. But today, we're talking about getting rich. If you didn't get rich from the Powerball, you can get rich maybe from this area. Maybe. I went to the Klondike Gold Rush National Historical Park in Skagway, Alaska, and it's a destination visited by many during the gold rush back in 1896. Now, I unfortunately did not get rich from the gold there, even though there is still some where you can find, but I did learn about the history that was there, and this makes people go into the mountains to travel if you wanted to find gold. Now, again, this was back in the day. It's called the Klondike Gold Rush because gold was discovered in the Klondike region. It's a tributary in the Yukon River in Canada. In August of 1896, a group of people discovered the Klondike area in Canada where they found gold. They were hoping to become rich, and of course, that word soon then spread, which became known as the Gold Rush back in 1897. Now, only about 40% of those who took the dangerous journey made it to the gold field. The treacherous terrain and harsh weather caused more people to turn back on average. It took people usually over 9 months to reach the fields. Now, of course, I didn't hike all of that. I got to take a train. And yes, in 1898, construction began to build a railroad to get to the White Pass and Yukon trails. Where's my picture? You can see it marked. It's hard to see. It's also on my Facebook page, the original trail that people took. It actually is known as one of the best civil engineering landmarks, the train that they built, and is honored as one of the engineering marvels, such as the Eiffel Tower and Statue of Liberty today. Now, of course, building a train, this is the one I took. It's a great way to get into the mountains and search for gold, but there's a problem. How do you remove up to 12 feet of snow in higher elevations? Well, they had something like this. It's a 129-ton Cook rotary snowplow that was used on trains to clear the snow. The boiler was used to turn on the 10-foot rotary blades, and there's me in front of it, so this thing is massive, to allow the snow to be plowed with 2 locomotives behind it. And fun fact, John W. Nordstrom, if Nordstrom rings a bell, Holly, he actually earned enough from the gold mine here, from the stake, to open his first department store in Seattle, Washington back in 1901. And now we see Nordstrom stores all over the United States. So it's kind of cool to see that people really traveled there in search for gold. We had earlier pictures of men hiking in the snow, again, 9 months in just miserable weather conditions like this. On our tour, we are talking that sometimes it took 30 to 45 minutes just to move 1 foot, because that many people were in search and had that fever to find gold. So again, a lot of people did not make it. They actually had laws implemented by Canada too, that you had to carry X amount of pounds of supplies. So people eventually brought animals on these trails. But of course, if you want to go there today, you can take a train, and it's cool just to know that our Nordstrom stores come from someone who was able to make their living from starting off a store from getting gold.
I know. That's kind of insane. Now, I would have probably been like those people in search for the gold. Like, I would have not left Alaska. I would have had to have some kind of gold. I would have had to have something.
And you still can pan for gold there today. There is still gold in Alaska and other areas. So if you're looking to be a little adventurous and maybe want to get your hand on probably not a ton of money these days, but still getting some natural gold flakes, you can go out there and do so.
Dang, that's so cool. You've been able to experience so much from seeing the different mountains.
Yeah.
I wasn't here on some of the other days where you shared other pictures.
My Facebook page, look at that, because I got the whole explanation and photos, so you can get it there.
Dang, yeah, this is cool though. Like, all I'm thinking about when you said get rich,
Rich.
you had me. You had me when you said that.
Rich. I just want a piece of gold. Well, you know what? We're going to take a look outside because it's not so golden right now. We are having a lot of clouds. We have had some sun earlier, but you know what's gold? Lambeau Field. We had a nice win from the Packers this weekend, and it was a golden sky. We are going to have a lot more coming back, though, talking about this upcoming winter and what you may need to know after the break, so stay tuned. welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. Now we're heading into fall, but you know, with some of the chilly temperatures we've had, Holly, winter, it's going to be here before we know it. And we're going to talk a little bit about the outlook for the winter because the Climate Prediction Center did release their winter outlook, hinting at a short-lived La Nina pattern during the late fall and early winter, but others are predicting more of a neutral pattern. So we're going to talk about what La Nina is. We're going to take a look at the equatorial Pacific because this is where trade winds usually blow from east to west. That'll push the warm surface waters towards Asia. As it does so in certain years, if those trade winds are strong enough, that'll allow uppooling. So the water comes up from the bottom of the ocean, which causes cooler water near the surface. Now, if that occurs, that gives us a La Nina. And this is a typical La Nina pattern that we see across the United States. Around here in Milwaukee, we can trend a little weather, but we usually have equal chances of dealing with some of the wet conditions. Cold conditions is in the Pacific Northwest, and the warm and dry conditions usually is in the deep south. So this is what we're outlooked as of now for the winter months. And again, this can change. We're closer to that wetter area in Milwaukee, still having equal chances. Drier is favored from the Florida Panhandle all the way to California. And in terms of our temperatures, of course, we have equal chances for our temperatures with warmer conditions from New England heading towards portions like Arizona, Utah, Nevada. So we're going to have to continue to watch this closely to see where the patterns take and if we do see this weak La Nina form.
I know. So I'm hoping for more snow. I have to say that. I'm hoping for more.
I think some people are, and some people don't want it. But those people, they can go to Florida. They can go to some of the warmer spots, right?
Right, because it will be warmer there. I mean, if we stay on this topic of mountains and snow and cold, I mean, check this out. This mountaineer may be over the hill, but he just reached the peak of his passion. The 102-year-old is the oldest person to submit Japan's Mount Fuji. He beat his own record from 6 years ago when he scaled Fuji at the age of 96. Wow. This time he overcame his heart issues, shingles, and stitches from another climbing fall. Now he says he has one last task: to paint Mount Fuji's summit scenery the way his eyes saw it.
Good for him. I don't even think I can move if I was that old, like the way he is.